you a woman in medicine feeling overwhelmed and disconnected from the personal fulfillment that you desire? You're in the right place. Join doctors Joanne and Erin as they rewrite the rules for women in medicine. Let's begin.
It started with a woman who wasn't a doctor. It started with a wife who watched her husband pour himself into his patients day after day and thought, someone should say thank you. So in 1933, Eudora Brown Almond sat down and mailed handwritten cards to every physician she knew. She also put red carnations on the graves of doctors who had passed. And she started something that nearly a century later became a national holiday. Today, March 30th, is National Doctors Day. And here on Create Meaning in Medicine, we don't just want to celebrate what doctors do, we want to talk about what keeps them going, what fills their cup, and why being seen matters. We want to talk about what keeps them going, what fills their cup, and why being seen matters more than most people realize. Before we get started, I want to ask you to pause. We would love for you to rate and review our show now. All you do is, if you're on Apple Podcasts, you go scroll down when you're on the show, scroll down to the stars, give us a star rating, and then click and give us an honest review. We read every comment, and that helps us provide more of what you appreciate and helps our show grow as well. Joanne, we talked about National Doctors Day this time last year. And I want to hear from you. Why is it so important to talk about it again this year?
Yes. And before I answer the question, I want to share kind of the behind the scenes that Erin and I were always reviewing what's coming up in our coaching calls. What are the themes that physicians and women in medicine are bringing up and what we're reading. And that's how we come up with our topics to add value to all of you. And so of course we wanted to talk about this important day again and about an event that Erin is doing. And it's the episode that aired right before this one, so check that out. It's episode 173, and the importance of the small acts of kindness and writing cards. And then we're doing the research for this episode, and no coincidence that it was about writing notes again almost a century ago, and how we can't minimize the importance of like the technology that we had 100 years ago. We can write a handwritten note and mail it or hand deliver it, and we still have those right tools. And now we have phones and so many other ways to communicate. So I just wanted to say that, because it was like, it just made me happy to read that's how it started. So no coincidences. And getting back to the question and bringing it back to a little bit more seriousness of some of the things that we talk about in terms of burnout being so high, and how many doctors are leaving medicine, or at least going part-time, which is not necessarily a bad thing. And sometimes that's what we need to do to find that joy again. But there's a huge shortage, and it's anticipated that it's going to get worse, because life in medicine right now, it's difficult. And the answer is not always, I'm going to leave medicine and do something else. A lot of times is reminding ourselves of these tools that we talk in this podcast so much, of how to get back to our meaning in medicine, and redefining success, and how to find that sense of fulfillment in medicine, and also checking in asking the better questions of how am I really, what support do I need, and where are my biggest struggles, and remembering that there's help. So that's huge here. And we also talk about so many areas in medicine that can have problems, especially going upstream, but then also some of the more internal things like our perfectionism, kind of like trying to do it all ourselves, how we don't always even recognize when we need help. How many stories, and we can think of our guests who have shared in a vulnerable way in this podcast, and how they talk about, I was burning out and I didn't notice. I was isolating myself from my family, and it didn't come out until we started talking about divorce, or I was thinking that I was doing well for my patient, and it wasn't until there was a negative outcome or a very negative comment. And a lot of times it's that the kind of retroactive review of how, if that's said correctly, of retrospective is a better word, of what's happened when we're feeling better. And then, right, like Erin and I have shared that as well. And then we look back and we're like, oh, wow, I wasn't doing that great, but we still keep on showing up. So it's worth mentioning it in this special day, because it's not just about the celebration, but then also the awareness of what's going on, where we're at, and where we would like to go, and how can we get there a little bit faster. And again, the individual importance of community and connection that we talk so much in here. And again, we're here to create more awareness and hopefully a ripple effect by you guys giving us that rating as well, and knowing that we do not need to suffer in silence, and that there's so much that we can do for each other and for ourselves. So I can go on and on, but I just wanted to make it about that, and in comparison to what we had talked about last year as well.
I love that theme of ripples, Joanne. As we said, we re-interviewed Dr. Todd Otten in episode 172. He has a book called Ripples of Change. And I want to point out the other ripples that are here. So it's called National Doctors Day. I'm part of I'm the president of my medical society, and we don't just have physicians. We have PAs and nurse practitioners in our organization. And so it's not exclusive. And the event that we're hosting locally, the Notes from the Heart event we're hosting on March 31st, is not just for physicians. It's for all the healthcare providers, the entire healthcare team, and the patients and the community, to celebrate not just doctors, not just healthcare providers, but what's possible, and bringing us all together to find what's good in medicine, to amplify what's good, even when there's heartache and difficult things going on. So when I can hear Dr. Todd Otten in his audible of his book, Ripples of Change, talk about his severe burnout and the impact on that. And that was only a handful of years ago that he wrote that book. And then when we interviewed him on the recent episode, and he just returned to practice in a DPC clinic, and he talked about having joy with his patients, celebrating the relationship. And so I think it's important that we continue to remind you, our listener, there is good in the world. There's good in medicine. There's good out there. And we want to help you find the path to that easier. And that's, again, one of the reasons we created this podcast, is to make it easier for you to find the good, to find those of us who are wanting to collect positive things in medicine, that are creating positive things in medicine, whether it's coaching that Joanne and I do, the retreats that we lead, the community that we're building with you, is to put that in front of you and just remind you there's good stuff out there. Don't forget about it.
Yes, so good. And the reminder also of why we do this work. And I've shared here several times, and I made that shift from more kind of institutional medicine, corporate medicine, back into my private practice. And I feel very fortunate. Like I say, a lot of us physicians love what we do with our patients, and it's such a heart filling job that we do. And it's unfortunate when other things get in the way, and we lose that joy, that connection, that sense of self. And I like to bring back also the bigger why. I think most of us in medicine, and again, thank you for bringing up the team, because we couldn't do it by ourselves, definitely. And the reasons why we went into medicine to begin with, and reconnecting with that younger, very hopeful self, and kind of how we can bring this back now. And I think about it a lot, because I have my oldest son is in that process of taking the MCAT and applying to medical schools and all of that. So it's easy for me to connect with those younger years of why I went into medicine, why I wanted to be a psychiatrist. And I think it's like many people, like I think I wanted to be a doctor since I was a little kid. And my mom has the cutest handwritten letter talking about letters that I wrote, that I said in, I don't remember how old I was, but tiny, like I don't know, like 8 or so. And I wrote in and I grew up in Puerto Rico, and this letter is in English, and it says, "When I grow up, I want to be a doctor and a good doctor." Like I made that distinction as a little girl. How funny! And then, like in ninth grade, I read a book about the relationship of a psychiatrist and this young, like teenager girl, and I remember thinking, "Wow!" Like it what a special unique relationship, and how the presence of this doctor changed this girl's life. And I'm like, that's what I want to be. And I went into medical school with an open mind that said, I'm going to see what else I like more. And like I tell my medical students, there wasn't anything that I wanted to read for fun except for psychiatry. And I said, like, okay, this is for sure my specialty. And I'm so grateful that I don't love all the things like we shared here, but I do love my work as a psychiatrist, and I know it helps me to connect with that special bond that we can have with patients. Of course, maintaining boundaries and the change that we create, and because I've created that shift, I had to say goodbye to a lot of patients, and some of them followed me. So hearing them say, "You changed my life. Like I'm alive because of you, and you're part of my life, and you're special," and all the thank yous. And that's a gift that we can give ourselves as well. We sometimes minimize it, and we're like, "Oh, it's just a job," and then saying like, "No, we have this unique opportunity to be in someone's life," and now I have the flexibility to do kind of half and half. About that, my time is my work as a psychiatrist, and then more flexibility to expand my coaching. And I feel so fortunate. Not saying that it's easy at all. I have plenty of times that I'm stressed out and overwhelmed, and yet that fills up my cup. And this is something that we can all do. And anyways, I love those stories of why did you go into medicine? I would love to hear yours, Erin.
Well, and as physician coaches, Joanne and I both understand the importance of the why behind doing something. If we're not doing something or it feels like dread, it oftentimes means we're not connecting to our why. So we're challenging our listener to think about their why. Why was it that you went into medicine, as we're sharing our stories? And is that the story you need to tap into to remember why you went into this amazing field that we have the honor of walking alongside our patients in order to get to whatever's going on with their health or their mental health. And I'm retired from medicine now. And I've always had a fascination with helping and medical care. And my fascination started when I was about 9. And my older brother and I were like two peas in a pod. We were the middle kids and we hung out together a lot. And he said he wanted to be a veterinarian. So that was my first love of medicine. And I helped when our horses got sick, when my dog got injured. I was always out there helping the veterinarian. And yet I always worked with kids. I was a babysitter. I taught gymnastics. I taught swimming. I was a lifeguard. I was always involved with kids. And as a freshman in college, I realized, I think there's enough people who want to work with animals. I'm really good with people too. And I made that pivot to focus on people medicine and went in thinking I'm going to be a pediatrician because I love kids. And then when I started medical school, there was this big push for family medicine. And I had a friend who was a family medicine resident. And he's like, "Oh, you just want to hang out with pediatricians because they're nice. You should do family medicine. Peds is too general." And so I opened my eyes and I connected with a family practice club that they had on campus. And I thought, oh, maybe peds is too limited. I can do children, but I can also do the whole range of care. And then I did my first rotation as a third year with the pediatric surgery resident or pediatric surgery rotation. And I was like, oh gosh, pediatrics is my thing. During the OBGYN resident, as soon as the baby the rotation, as soon as the baby was handed off, I wanted to follow the baby instead of stay and care for the mom. So it was pretty clear that that was my calling to work in pediatrics. And even though I'm not practicing medicine now, when I went through that, doing both practicing child abuse medicine as well as coaching and leading women in medicine, I realized I could have a bigger impact in medicine by single focusing on helping, especially women in medicine, stay in medicine in a healthy, sustainable manner, even though that meant pulling away from direct patient care. And it's been such an honor to have done both of those things. And I am filled with joy because I chose the path that served me. And I think I could go back into medicine if that was my desire and find joy. And my hope is, what is it that you, our listener, needs to have that joy? Where's that balance? Is it the status, are you working full time and need part-time? Is it you need the support? Do you need community? And this is all about how can you get back to that joy in medicine instead of having dread or feeling drudgery. And so on this National Doctors Day, I'd like you to do one thing that has nothing to do with patients. Take a walk, call a friend, sit in silence. You can't pour from an empty cup. And today we're asking you to fill yours. Happy Doctors Day from Create Meaning in Medicine.
Do you want exclusive resources and the opportunity to connect with us? Then visit createmeaninginmedicine.com now, where you'll dive deeper into how you can create meaning in medicine. And if you're serious about optimizing your results, take 2 quick steps now. Connect with us on the website and tune in to the next episode.